Introducing veteran international real estate investment expert, author, and speaker, Adiel Gorel.
Real estate tips, investment strategies, wealth building tips, retirement riches, all right here with Adiel Gorel. Here's your third invest and rest tip. Buy in the Sun Belt state. Buy in the Sun Belt states. What are the Sun Belt states? The Sun Belt states are these states in the south where the sun shines. States like Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, Louisiana. The US Census has been showing for decades now that the population growth is moving towards the Sun Belt states, and the northern and even the Midwestern states are actually losing population. That's what they show for the future. And it kind of makes sense. One component of why the Sun Belt states are growing are the baby boomers, or 77 million of them, and I'm a baby boomer too. Traditionally, it's been shown that when people retire, they seek the warmer climates. I think they've just about had enough of running around in 27 below in the winter. Come on, that's not fun. I know the feeling. So, retirees today are completely different than what they used to be. Retirees today are starting second careers, even starting startup companies. They could inject so much strength and power economically into these markets in the Sun Belt warm state that they move into. And it's not just that. As it happens, the Sun Belt states are also very business friendly. Unlike some states like New York and California, which are great and powerful, but not that business friendly with taxation and regulation. So businesses are attracted to the Sun Belt as well. As a result, younger workforces are also going there because the jobs are going to be there. And as a bonus, there are many large, diverse, and healthy metropolitan areas in the Sun Belt that are still very affordable. And think about how nice it'll be to visit your properties in the cold winter months, which is a deductible expense, by the way. So the whole idea of remote control retirement riches is buy where it makes sense to buy. It doesn't matter where you live. If you live in San Francisco, New York City, or many other cities that are too expensive to buy affordable rentals in, like Los Angeles and Seattle and San Diego and Boston and Washington, D.C., Chicago, more, you can still buy in other areas, no matter where you may happen to live. It shouldn't matter. You can buy in large Sunbelt metropolitan areas where the prices are low and the rents are relatively high. That gives you much more income. Some of the places we started in, like Phoenix and Las Vegas, have now skyrocketed in value, so they've become good places to sell. That's another way that I help my investors create income. I keep identifying the best markets to get into and strike while the iron's hot. That's what we want to know. One thing that's amazing to me, even with all the success stories of this method, even with all the proven track record of this method, some people get caught up in what I call the paralysis of overanalysis. They never get going. I've even seen in the real estate realm, people go to seminars. Rings any bell? They shell a lot of money for a boot camp, which could have been used as a down payment on a home, by the way. They take courses, they study, they try to find the perfect market. And in the perfect market, the very best one, they try to find a perfect home after extensive study. Of course, the result, mostly, they end up doing nothing. It is infinitely better to buy a rental home in a good market than never to buy in the very best market. You agree with that? Yes. Nike's got it right. Just do it. It's amazing to me. And being from Silicon Valley, over the years, I've developed a theorem. That's a tech term. Let's see if you agree with my theorem. It goes like this. You do not enjoy the benefits of the ownership of rental homes if you don't own rental homes. You think does that make sense? It makes sense to me. It's amazing. People never get started. I mean, it's kind of burning for me, the difference that could be made, and yet the inaction. Some of this comes from fear. I'm committed to being your coach. I'm committed to hold your hand, to take you on a more simplified, easier path that I've created. I will be there with you. Let me give you an example. I helped Norma, a woman in her 50s, living in Los Angeles, buy several rental homes. Today, Norma is 68 years old. She lives in another country. Her homes are nearly paid off. Some of them are. Norma doesn't need to work in the country that she lives in. At age 68, she's completely free of any financial concerns. Made a big difference for her. I've helped and held the hand of thousands of people. And financial futures were completely transformed. It's relatively easy and affordable. You will not be alone. So can you manage properties yourself? Sure, but why would you? I use brokers and property managers, a team, an infrastructure, an ecosystem that I put in place to help me buy my own properties, the same as they will help you and us. I have teams in place in the best metropolitan areas in the United States. They help me with my rentals. They will help you with yours. Let someone else do the renting and maintenance and management. Some of us have a notion that somehow this needs to be hard. It does not. It does not need to be hard. I've been talking to countless people. I've seen the lives of so many transformed for the better, yet an interesting sentence that I keep hearing when people tell me their stories, even if they are success stories, is the following sentence: I should have bought more, no matter what. And you know what? Come to think of it, I say the same thing. I've been our biggest buyers. I've been buying for 30 years plus. I also say, I should have bought more. Kind of like my family around the dinner table. So, you know, when you retire, creating constant financial growth well into the future and a constant income stream become very important. The single-family rental homes are excellent in creating these conditions for your future. And they also happen to be one of the most conservative ways that you can invest. Buying them when the prices are affordable and when the rents in the economy are good cements the strength of your future. Also, clearly protecting what you have becomes more and more important as you retire. Needless to say, every home you have would and should carry comprehensive insurance to cover as much as possible. I discuss this in more detail in my book. People always want to know what can go wrong. When you start with a premise of buying quality homes, preferably brand new, in quality locations, in quality metropolitan areas with quality economies, risk is very minimal. Single-family homes fulfill a basic needs, especially for families. They provide a place to live. Yet, about 35% of the US population are renters. That is over 110 million people. We don't lack for renters in the right markets. And the rental markets are very strong. Millennials especially have been renting more since they value the flexibility and the ability to move when they want. I would say that the biggest risk is doing nothing. I've mentioned before, we talked about that, seeing two friends 16 years ago. One built a small portfolio of single-family homes in their spare time, and they were very busy in their job. But I simplified the process for them and coached them, held their hand. They actually had fun doing it on the side. The other did nothing. Today, their financial standing is vastly different. It's very rewarding when I talk to the one who owns the homes, and a bit heartbreaking when I talk to the other one. Let me give you an example. Mindy was a teacher in her mid-50s. She stepped up to buy one rental home, just one. She ended up paying the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage in 16 years, so now it was free and clear. Today, Mindy is nearly 70, and that one home she bought, just one, made such a big difference in her retirement. She does get Social Security. She does have some of her own retirement, but the $10,000 a year that come from this one home, plus the net worth of the home without a mortgage, they put another layer of safety into Mindy's life. That's just one home. You know, fulfilling. It's nice to see. And I would like you to have the same experience. You're seeing that owning just one more rental home can work as a building block in your retirement. And you can leave it as a legacy for your heirs as well, of course. It's good. So how can you make it happen now? How much money do you need to start? First, I want to give you a quick recap of what we talked about in the previous segments. We discussed the important issue of creating steady income and the net worth to cover our ever-increasing lifespan. Buying one or more single-family rental homes can help create it. We discussed buying in quality areas, in large cities in the Sun Belt states. This is something that's relatively simple, inexpensive, and is a way to secure your financial future. You can also leave a legacy to your family. The combination of the 30-year fixed-rate loan, which never keeps up with inflation, and strong rental markets in large cities in the Sun Belt states create a growth engine for your future and the future of your family. Can anyone do this at any age? Of course. In the previous segment, we discussed people who started investing in their 70s and 80s. Needless to say, there are countless people who started in their 50s and 60s. And naturally, there are a lot of younger investors as well. We are seeing many second-generation investors who are now in their 30s, 40s, sometimes even 20s, who have seen the powerful effect these rental single-family homes had on their parents. Now they want to create the same financial future for themselves and their families. So how much money do you need to buy a good rental home in a good area? Let's say, for the sake of example, once again, you're buying a $170,000 brand new home in a good area in a large metropolitan in the Sun Belt. Fannie Mae regulations as of today say that you can put a down payment that's as low as 15% down as an investor. Remember, this is not a homeowner, this is an investor buying it. 15% down payment plus the loan costs and the closing cost, the total amount of cash you're going to need is $32,000, give or take. Now, if you have the $32,000 available, you can get started whenever you want. Hopefully sooner rather than later, like Nike said, you know, just do it and all of that. But if you don't, there are several ways to raise the money needed to buy your first home. One is to save. We all know that. But there are other ideas I've seen used successfully by many people, and I will tell you exactly how to do it in my book and my program materials, but there are many ways to raise this money. Single-family home values go in cycles. We've seen that, right? Usually there is steady growth. Occasionally, as we all know so well, there are periods of booms and periods of busts. Overall, though, the average values of single-family homes have gone up about 1.5 times the rate of inflation historically throughout all the cycles. And that's something to note, because when we are buying them using just a down payment and finance the rest with a 30-year fixed rate loan, which never changes with inflation, these homes pack a lot of power in building up our future income as well as our future net worth. That's important stuff. So let me give you an example. Brad lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, and he's an employee of a large hospital. Brad started investing in the 90s. Very surprisingly to me, I visited him last year, and he's only 58. He says to me, I'm telling the hospital that I'm not going to work anymore. I said, what? You look so young, and why? He said, it's all your fault. I own 16 homes in Phoenix, and the mortgages were so tiny, because again, inflation eroded them, I just paid them off. There was hardly anything left. Now I have 16 free and clear homes in Phoenix. I don't have to work, and I don't want to work. Can you imagine having your kids or grandkids' college already paid for before they even hit college age? How about taking that trip with the family anytime you want? These rental homes can build up to this, and they can build up to much more. Now, regarding those 30-year mortgages, I had a question before that was interesting. It said, am I going to qualify for such a mortgage? Remember, if we run with the same example of a $170,000 home and we put 15 or 20% down, the mortgage is what, 140? It's not a high mortgage. You don't need to earn a ton of money to qualify for that. So even the mortgages are very accessible to a lot of people. These are small mortgages and they're accessible. How many 30-year fixed rate loans can a person get? Current Fannie Mae regulations allow a person to have up to 10 30-year fixed rate loans, only 10. That includes the loan on your own residence. Now, at this point when I'm standing here and talking to you, 10 may sound like a crazy high number. 10, come on. And of course, you don't have to own that many homes to have a gigantic, safe and secure future, as we've already seen. But if you love owning these homes and having them make money for you while you rest, like I do, you may eventually want to buy more than one or two. So how do you take your first steps? How do you get started now? Everything I'm sharing here should be enough to get you started. But I also go into much more depth, step by step, in my program materials, and you can start small. Even a small investment can have a profound effect on your future. Just a few of them, just a couple, can make a big difference later on in life. This is not in 1 year. This is not get rich quick, but you build something very powerful for the future with this fixed rate loan where inflation is your buddy. Inflation is your friend all of a sudden. For most people, inflation is the enemy. You got a 30-year fixed rate loan that never changes. Inflation is your best buddy. That's very nice. I've seen countless examples of people who invested in just one rental home and stopped there. This one home already stabilized their income in the future and added welcome additional steady growth, remember the lifespan that we talked about, into their life. Of course, what did they say? I wish I'd bought more. Naturally. Now, here is your fourth invest then rest tip. Buy quality homes in good location. Now that sounds obvious. Of course. What kind of a tip is that? Well, it may sound obvious, but it's amazing to me how many people fall into the trap of buying junky homes in bad areas, since on paper, the rent and cash flow numbers appear better. Well, I've got news for you. Life doesn't happen on paper. Right? Normally, in real life, this would be nothing but a recipe for disaster. Stay with a good, clean homes in good area. The old saying about, as you know, location, 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 didn't come out of nowhere. These rental homes typically generate net cash income from the get-go, even after the mortgage payments. and all the other expenses, including possible repairs and vacancy. The net cash flow is there, especially with today's relatively low interest rates. I often get the question, and it's a logical one. If the house costs $170,000 and the rent is $1,400 a month and the mortgage payment is less than the rent, why are they renting? Why aren't they buying the home? Doesn't it make more sense? Well, it sounds very logical. It's a logical thought. But over the years I've seen what is logical for one person may not fit the other's situation. I've already discussed that there are over 110 million renters in the US. Many of them rent by choice. They value the flexibility to get up and move at any time, as we mentioned before about many millennials. Then there are the people who, while they are gainfully employed, just never have the structure, the possibility, or the discipline to save up for a down payment, even if it's low. Some people simply don't make home ownership a priority. Some people are just visiting in town maybe for a temporary job. They don't want to put roots. There are many other cases like these. The end result is over 35% of the US population are renters. And in the quality large metropolitan areas we look at, the rental markets are strong and they're thriving. So it works for us. Here's your fifth invest then rest tip. Bigger and nicer is not better. Of course, neither is small and really cheap. We have already discussed buying quality single-family homes in good areas. However, some investors, especially those used to living in high-priced locations, take this concept too far. A typical thing that I see is, if the $170,000 home is good, well, the $240,000 bigger home must be better. No, it is not. As the prices climb up, the rents become relatively lower, and then makes the cash flow more tenuous. Homes that are too big attract fewer tenants. They will require bigger utility bills. It's a big home. And leave out most of the rental pool. So you don't want that. Also for the owner, the bigger home means more maintenance costs. We want to buy homes in the sweet spot. Not too cheap and junky, yet not too big to the point where the numbers don't work anymore. Even the great Warren Buffett, who is usually not an investor in homes, wanted to buy single-family rental homes in large quantities in the aftermath of the recession in 2012. He and I were connected and communicated back and forth. Of course, being the brilliant man that he is, he wanted to buy all these homes for his company using a 20% down payment and a 30-year fixed rate loan on each and every home of the many thousands of homes that he was going to buy for Berkshire Hathaway. Amazingly, the rules of Fannie Mae limited even him to a mere 10 such loans. We all hear about how we should buy stocks for our retirement. Stocks are a fine investment and should most certainly be one of the pillars of financial planning, but not the only one. Same for bonds. Stocks cannot be bought with a small down payment and an amazing 30-year fixed rate loan. Cannot. This only exists for houses. Some stocks may pay dividends, but no stock has little tenants living in it and paying ever higher rents since they need a place to live, right? Quality single-family home rentals have the power to completely change and vastly improve your financial future. In the least, they should be one of the pillars of your retirement security. You may ask, when do I sell my properties? Well, sometimes you can sell a property and use the proceeds to finance a large item, such as we talked, sending your kids or grandkids to college. Selling can happen when you need to. And of course, the more equity that you have built in the home, the larger the payoff. Needless to say, it's best to sell during a time when the market is strong and there are plenty of buyers. Even the general media will let you know when that is. Is it a bubble? Is it a boom? It's easy to see, right? It's easy. Of course, I also reach out to my investors. I'll reach out to you as well when times are ripe for sale. You can also just hold on to your rental homes. You don't have to sell. As the equity grows into your retirement years, it will provide financial growth well into the future. And it doesn't matter how long our life expectancy. This will take care of our money, lasting our lifetime. That's a classic big problem that people are worried about very much now, without even considering that people may live to crazy high numbers. It's like science fiction, but it's here. So that will take care of it. These homes will take care of that. People in other countries don't understand why the Americans don't run out every day to buy these rental homes with a miraculous 30-year fixed rate loan. So why aren't you? It's not nearly as daunting as you may think. Now is the time. The interest rates are low. Even though there was a bump in rates recently, historically the current rates are still extremely low. Today, even after the recent bump, investors can get rates in the vicinity of 5% fixed for 30 years. Remember, investors get slightly higher rates than homeowners, but still about 5% plus or minus. Fix those forever with a 30-year fixed rate loan. That will turbocharge your retirement. If you want to rest, I would say you should invest. Sounds fair? Don't wait. Let me help you get started. This is doable and a lot simpler than you think. Financial strength and income for your future can be created with this, even if your future is extremely long. It's so exciting for me to think, I'm seeing you here, that you can drastically change your financial future. I can't wait to help you do this. I'm wishing you the healthiest, happiest years of your life ahead. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining me today. Click the subscribe button for more video on real estate. Got a question or comment? I love questions and comments. Leave yours below. And here's another video you've got to see.